get this started.
Get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in like a very aggro mood today for whatever reason.
Well, there are a lot of reasons to be angry.
Well,
and
yeah, I guess that's
how has it manifested itself?
It's mostly when I'm driving, but I noticed that since wearing a mask, I like speak those things more because the mask is covering my mouth.
Like under your breath?
Yeah, so I'm like moving my mouth, but they can't hear it obviously. But if I wasn't wearing a mask, they could see that I was like either talking to myself or talking to them.
What is it that you're saying?
Oh, just like stuff that's too hot for TV. No, it's
Not
mostly
ready
like,
for prime time.
yeah. Well, it's this weird thing I think I realized when I was younger, but a little too late. Like, I was just like, oh, if you think it, like people don't have access to that information. So only you have that thought and understand that thought and know about that thought. And unless you tell somebody, no one's going to find that information out.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just like, oh, I can think or say something that I would want to say in my head, but not feel guilty about it as if I had actually said it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
the mask sort of makes it, so you feel like, because you live alone as well.
right.
As do I. So like there are times when I get home from like a frustrating day, or if it, like, going to the store is
Right.
very annoying to me. So you get back home and then you can just like scream and like rant to yourself about like all the stuff. And I feel like that's you need that release. But and like that's the same when I used to drive, and that's the same thing I would do when I would drive, would be screaming at everybody on the street, but nobody can hear you.
Absolutely. Do you have like since you live by yourself, do you have like a routine or like when I first lived by myself, when I started living by myself, in my mind, I was just like, I'm not going to talk to myself. Right. That was like a goal, is just like, I know I'm by myself, but like, I'm not going to like have a dialogue as if I have a roommate hanging out. And I'm just like, Jesus, can't watch the fucking dishes or whatever. Like, I was just going to like have my thoughts, and that was just that. And I wasn't going to, quote unquote, go crazy living by myself. Mm-hmm. And that probably lasted maybe like 2 months. And then I was just like, having conversations with myself, whether it's just like, oh, fuck, I really got to do that. I know I was talking about doing that, but it's just like, and then
you do both sides of the conversation.
Yeah, one of them is one of them is like Jack Nicklaus, and the other is just me, and I'm just having this dialogue where it's just like, listen, man, when are you gonna do that thing? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, Jack. It's a real Rick and Morty vibe, but yeah, because that's like that was just something that I remember people telling me about living by myself. They're just like, oh, you're going to be so lonely. Like, what are you going to do with yourself? Like all these things that I was just like, yeah, I guess I am kind of worried. Like, what is going to happen? And then almost immediately, as soon as I started living by myself, I was just like, those fuckers were lying. They were just like, all of that stuff is like very, very small on the scale of like things that you can do when you live by yourself, that I didn't realize was like, oh, it doesn't really matter if I feel that lonely, because you could feel lonely and have roommates. That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Sure. And you're confined to a room if you have roommates. Like I never, when I had roommates, I never felt comfortable hanging out in the living room unless everybody was hanging out in the living room. Then it's
really?
Like, oh, like,
what would you think? You're not even like trying to watch a movie or something specific. You're just like, I just want to like kill the next this afternoon, and I'm like on my phone. Maybe I'm watching some TV or playing some games or noodling on my guitar. You wouldn't just like go to the living room.
No, I would do that in my room.
Right. because that's the shared space you don't want to encroach. Is
Right,
that what
but
you're
then
thinking?
nobody, yeah, but other people felt the same way, and nobody
So
would
no one
ever.
used the living room?
No.
Oh man. Well, I feel like that's a very respectful, or maybe like overly respectful kind of roommate environment, where the
Mhm.
other side of it would just be like, you know, Candace and her boyfriend are always in the living room. They never leave. I can never just like
Yeah,
go there to hang out because they're just like, camped out there, which is the bad side of having that.
right. And then you have to like go to the bathroom or like go into the kitchen, and so like our when we lived in that place, first place in Astoria, we had a roommate that was like a previous roommate's friend,
Right.
that I didn't know, and he would always like fall asleep on the couch, and he would be in the living room a lot, and that's part of the reason why I was like, oh, I can't hang out in the living, like it's very annoying and
Yeah.
disturbing for me, so I never want to be that person who's like sitting and watching TV in the living room, uh,
Just
because our walls were sort of thin, so it was like you can hear everything
even
that's up.
worse.
Yeah. But then they would have to like go out and go to the kitchen, and then have to have a conversation with this person who you don't really know. Uh, and he was a bad he wouldn't do dishes
Oh yeah.
at all. And
Because I feel like that's also true of like if you have a roommate who maybe doesn't kind of understand the social norms of being a roommate, their friends 100% aren't also going to be like chill people in that regard. They're also going to be kind of like, hey, you use this toothpaste? You mind if I just like get a squirt and just like brush my teeth real quick? Like they don't necessarily see the boundary of that. But then I don't know.
right.
When I had roommates, even in college, like you'd be laying in bed and you'd hear them, and you'd kind of have to like plan. All right, I want to go to the refrigerator, but I don't want to like have to deal with them. So I kind of
Mhm.
like listen and wait to see if they like go into the room, and then I exit my room and like make a dash for the kitchen.
Mhm.
But it's
You,
not comfortable.
you know, have you ever heard our friend Nate's story of
No.
how he would? So he told me he would, because he's very quiet, and so he said that he like scared his roommate once by, because like just by basically appearing. So he would, when he would walk out of his room, he would clap.
Oh my
He would
god.
like make a noise so that the roommate would expect
Oh
someone to
my
be
god.
coming.
That's hilarious. All of that, and that's I don't know what kind of like breeds that interaction. Like even in your situation, if you had a sit down with your roommates and kind of hash that out, do you think that would even come to that like understanding, or would they just be like, "Oh, come on, chill out, Mark. What's the problem? We're just hanging out."
With that one specific roommate, um, I don't, because we had told him to his face,
Oh, I see.
like, "Hey, you got to do," and like when he was moving out and somebody else was moving in, uh, I was like, because he was like just laying on the couch. He was basically a sloth, and I was like,
Uh,
"Hey, so and so's moving in tomorrow, or like later in the week. Did you?" And like nothing had been cleaned out of
right.
his room and stuff, and he's laying on the couch, uh, and he was like, "Yeah, okay." And I was like, "No, no, but he like
No, he's
already
he's
paid."
here.
Yeah, like you already paid the month's rent, so you have to like move your stuff out. And he's like, "Okay, I will," and doesn't move off the couch. And then I had to be like, "No, seriously, like move your stuff out."
Oh my god. Yeah, in those situations, especially when you then start to live by yourself, you're just like the stress and the weight off your shoulders,
Oh
that
yeah,
tension is completely gone.
you don't have to worry about it at all.
Not at all. And yeah, I always, whenever I talk to people who are like, I have a roommate, but I don't want to live with someone or like whatever, and they're thinking about living by themselves, I always say, like, do it, unequivocally do it. Even if it's a short time and ultimately, you move in with somebody or whatever, like, I think it's definitely necessary to at least have a period in your life where you live by yourself, so you
Yeah.
experience that. I think I've gone too far to the dark side,
Me
where
too.
now I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I can live with someone
Well,
because
here's the thing: is that nobody ever goes from living alone to living with roommates again,
right,
unless
you
they're like
can't, yeah,
in a relationship or something like that. But you never go
to
once you make the
randos.
jump to living alone. You never go back to having roommates. I
Yeah.
think.
Unless, yeah, like you said, unless there's like financial reasons why you kind of have to.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think like if you have the choice, you would never do that just
Right.
because the freedom that it affords you living by yourself. I don't know. Like even people who are like, this is the disconnect that I never understood, who are just like, well, I'm such a social person, so I can't live by myself. As if like every waking moment of their time at home is interacting with someone. And it's just like, you don't even have like a simple moment of peace by yourself with your own thoughts. Or is
Yeah.
that just when you sleep? But then, fucking people will be like, oh, yeah, well, me and my roommate, we sleep on the couch together sometimes or whatever. And it's just like, all
What
right,
arrangement is this? I don't
I
know.
don't know. But I
Is
think
the
the freedom, like, it can definitely go the other side. Like, for me, like, I don't think I've used my bathroom in my apartment once where I've closed the door, unless I have
wow.
had like people over. But if no one's over, that door, it could ostensibly be like a beaded curtain. It doesn't matter. It's not
I
being
close it when
closed.
I shower, but yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I don't
not me, bro. Wide
literally.
open.
But
Wide
then
open.
when you get out of the shower, you get a cold breeze. You don't want that. You're not ready for that.
Well,
You
I
got to
guess in
dry
the
off first.
wintertime when it's like cold, I'll like, yeah, you'll hotbox the shower so all the steam stays in.
It just
But
feels right to close the door.
I
Yeah.
know. But
Have
my
you ever had the thing of when you come out of the shower and you think that someone else might be in the apartment because that would be like the time for them to like come in. Like
absolutely.
somebody breaks in. That's the thing about living alone is like maybe once a week you're gonna think that somebody has broken in,
At least once a week where you're just like, wait a minute, hold on.
and
My
then you're like,
but
oh, I did leave the TV on. Of course, somebody didn't break into my house while I was in the shower and turn on the television.
when I shower, I don't know if it's something with the acoustics of the shower or like the pipes like in the building, but whenever I turn the water on for the shower, it sounds like there's like thud or like almost as if someone's knocking or banging at the door at my front
Mm.
door. So when I turn it on, it kind of feels like, oh shit, is someone at the door? Or is like someone out and about? And I'll hear it. And there are times like I'll get home late and it'll be late night and I'll be like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a quick shower before I go into bed. I'm like, gross. And sometimes, and I do this especially at night, where I won't turn the lights on in the bathroom. I'll just keep it dark. So like the
Mm.
entire apartment is basically dark, and it is kind of like this, like I don't know, a little relaxing, where it's just like darkness, and it's a shower. It's relaxing, but then there'll be like a thud or like a house that makes noise or something, and I'm just like, oh fuck, turn on every light in this apartment and to make sure Pennywise isn't there.
Yeah,
Because
big deal. Pennywise is a big deal.
bro, if you opened your door, that's the one thing I'd like. We have laundry in our building, so I'll like go out the hallway and it's on our floor, and then when I come back, I'm always just like that period of time where I'm like
Mm.
going to load laundry, and then when I come back would be like, because I don't lock the door, I leave it open. That would be perfect for someone to just like go in there, sneak in, hide under the bed, and then just like get me.
But just for
First.
the purpose of scaring you, oh, killing you.
Well, yeah, or like if
I
they're like, you know what, I want to take his TV or his PlayStation or computer or whatever, they could
Mhm.
just like pop in, grab the shit, walk out. You know, I wouldn't know any difference because I'm loading my laundry.
I always get a little scared. We have an elevator in the building, and everybody gets like, uh, they're like taken aback when the doors open and somebody else is standing there.
Right. As
But it's like, that's the place you would expect someone to be. But anytime
Totally.
the door opens and someone's there, you're like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Hey. Well, I don't know what that is. I think that's kind of probably where like the horror movie genre gets a lot of its easy scares is like
Mhm.
these are places where yes, people could be here, but like you don't always expect them to be there. So when someone does pop up there, and they're not even popping up, they're just there.
Standing there, yeah.
It just kind of like in your mind, there's almost like a lag, a hesitation for a moment. Where it's like, oh, there's someone here.
Well, and it's especially that when like something with the floors is off, like when you get like you just fucking short circuit when you're going to the lobby and then
Right.
somebody gets on the second floor and you get
Yes.
on and you're like, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna go run and take the stairs down another
Yeah.
floor.
I'm gonna
Like,
hide.
just
No, it's
nobody
true.
knows
Well,
what to do.
it's like when you're walking on the sidewalk and you're turning the corner where like a building is obstructing the view for the other side of the corner or the other
Mhm.
side of the street, and you turn and there's like someone there. You're just like, ugh. But like
Yeah.
obviously someone could be there. It's just like the I don't know, the surprise of it, the the lack of expectation, I think is what it is. If you expect Pennywise to be around every corner, you're not going to be scared by that, right?
You're living a hard life.
If you're just like, well,
You're
fuck,
spending a lot of energy terrifying
he might
yourself,
get you though.
preparing. Yeah, and then the one time he does, you'll be ready.
Yeah, you just be like, whatever. I like there's that thing where you can faint from shock, right? Like something so frightening or something so surprising would actually like cause you to faint.
I guess. In movies, yeah.
No, I think well,
I've
maybe
never
in real
seen that
life,
in.
you just pass out basically.
Mhm.
But you can definitely faint. Like your brain, plays tricks on you.
It is pretty fun. That's like,
But it's a defense. It's a
yeah,
defense
yeah,
mechanism.
yeah. It's like an animal's response to.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, I can't handle Pennywise, so I'm gonna faint and then block that as if it doesn't exist because I'm passed out. And then you wake up and he's just standing there. He's like, Okay, I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here waiting for you." But yeah, like I always thought about that, especially sleeping at night. Is I don't know. When I was a kid, I had this defense mechanism where it's just like, if you just close your eyes or you put your head under the covers, then whatever is on the outside of it doesn't exist, right?
Mhm.
It's like the boogeyman kind of thing where it's just like, well, if I just close my eyes, he's not there.
Right.
But realistically, he's still there,
Yeah.
just
You need
waiting.
to get yourself a panic room.
And then you lock yourself in this horror state, you know, just
Yeah.
constantly scared.
I mean, if you're not scared all the time, then
Yeah,
how do
what
you
do you
even
even do?
live? How do you go through life not being scared?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you know how like there are conditions that people have where they can't feel pain, like the nerves, there's like something, whether it's genetic or something like that, but they don't feel pain in their body.
I think a lot of the like UFC fighters have that, or have like no, I think
No, they
like they
just
have a form of that where
right.
or they're just psychos. You're saying?
Yeah, well, they desensitize their nerves through like, hitting things. But
Yeah.
but like I don't know, I remember seeing like a news report where it was like a kid who was born basically with like the nerves in their body not really like recepting to those kind of things. And it's
Oh,
actually
okay.
very dangerous because pain or those kind of sensory things protect your body. If you feel something hot, you like, pull your hand back from the stove or whatever. But it's dangerous because if a kid feels no pain, they could, jump off the first story of a building and fall, and maybe they would fracture their leg or something, but they wouldn't feel that.
Hmm.
So it kind of makes this mentality of like invincibility, even though they're not like literally invincible. They just feel like nothing can hurt them. which has
Yeah.
got to be such a weird, beyond the pain aspect, but like, how you touch stuff, how you like experience the world. If you can't really like have that sense, yeah, I don't know. Does that make you just like turn into a monster?
I don't know. What would you do if you didn't have any physical pain?
If I couldn't feel pain, hmm. I don't know. I feel like I would
Like,
have to use like, an unbreakable style thing where it's just like I would have to become some kind of person that would normally be deterred by pain, but, that's what like I'm doing, like, yeah,
yeah.
boxing or like fighting. I could be like the best fighter because I wouldn't feel that someone broke my nose. I could just continue to do whatever.
Wait, do you think they get tired then, or is that the same sort of thing? Like if you're running a long distance, do you
Well,
think they
I think they
start
would still
to?
get tired. It's just like the sensory of the nerve endings. So like, let's say you're running for whatever 100 miles. After a
Yeah.
certain point, like maybe there's like stress fractures in your foot from running and your joints feel pain and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Those things I don't think you would feel. But like your lungs and your capacity and all that stuff, like you would still get tired. But
Right.
the pain of like the burning sensation or like the aches from the joints or the pain from the feet or whatever, you wouldn't feel that.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's wild. What would you do if you had nope, you couldn't feel any pain?
Hmm. I'd probably like put my hand over a candle for money.
you,
I'd
you
set
just
up a,
go to the circus
uh,
and
no,
just
I
be
would
like
never work for the circus. I'd set up my own kiosk.
on the
Then
boardwalk, you're
people,
just like, hey,
yeah.
pay me $5 and I'll stick my hand in this furnace.
Hmm.
But I guess that is something like, what would you do? Like now I guess you could put it like on YouTube and be like, check this, freak out.
Yeah.
Mark's, holding his hand over his candle and it's burning his flesh, but he can't actually like feel it.
Hmm.
And then you'd rack up the views, you go viral, like you'd go on to Ellen, and then before you know it, you're just like living in a house in Los Angeles, with a bunch of other, you know,
Freaks.
freaks. I mean,
Freak
honestly,
house.
what's the difference between like a TikTok house where a bunch of TikTokers live and the circus? What's the
Wait,
difference?
are there TikTok houses?
Yeah, of course. It's the same
Really?
with like, well, yeah, it's like the younger, not teens, but like a little bit older, and they like have their own, whether it's like a neighborhood or a house that they all live together, and it's like, yeah, we do TikToks together.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
I hate that.
I hate that. But what's the difference between that and a circus? You're
Are they
all under
really?
one roof. You're
Hmm.
all like you're good at your one thing, whether it's
Yeah,
growing a
doing.
beard or you know
Yeah,
your bearded lady. You got the elephants who can no, the bears that can ride a bike.
strong
Um,
guys.
strong guys who can like bend steel.
Hmm.
Um, you've got someone with two heads. You got the person who can like guess your weight. What's the difference between? What's the
I think
difference
that's
between?
that's
What's
the
the,
one person in the circus who that skill is different from.
yeah. What is? How does this not match the other? That's basically that,
Yeah,
because it's like when we have all of these like unique like people as a part of this circus, and then we
and
have just like
he guessed
Joe,
he
who's
yeah.
just like, yeah, I was an accountant, and turns out I could kind of guess your weight if
I
I
was an
just look at you.
accountant and then I was a butcher and then I can sort of combine those two experiences and
It's like,
guess.
hey, you're like
But it's called
230.
guess your weight, so even if he's wrong, he's still doing his job.
Yeah, he's guessing.
He guessed it.
It's
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna tell you what your weight is.
Right.
It's I'm gonna guess your weight.
Yeah, but there's no difference, I guess, between The
It's just a
YouTubers
different
and
time.
the TikTokers are the modern day circus folk.
Yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If that's how you want to
No, I
make your
think there is
peanuts.
something wrong with
It is weird. I mean, it was it ever aspirational to be in the circus? I know people would want to run away to the
yeah,
circus, but
right.
I don't know if like I remember seeing the circus when I was young, but I didn't leave the circus being like, "Damn,
One
I'd
day
love to
that's
fuck
gonna
with
be
that."
me. I'm gonna be up there.
Oh, be up there in the trapeze. Like it's definitely like if you're into like gymnastics or something like that, that's obviously something that you would be inspired by. Cirque du Soleil, I guess, is like um it's kind of
A
like
classy
snobby. Yeah,
circus. Yeah.
snobby circus. It's still, weirdos who can put their ankles, behind their shoulder blades.
Yeah. Boy, I wish.
Oh, let me tell you what you could do with that skill. You can crawl into a lot of small places.
Yeah. I'm always looking at small places and being like, oh, I wish I could
I
crawl.
wish I could crawl into there.
Yeah. I would like to be in a suitcase. You fly for free, right? Well, and not now, post 9/11.
Post-
I mean, they X-ray everything, but
Do they really? Let's talk
in the
about it.
in the 60s, if you could fold yourself up into a suitcase, you're flying for free.
If you're a TSA agent, and because it would have to be through like carry-on, right?
Yeah.
You're at the end of your shift.
Well, I guess you could check the bag with the person in it.
Right, but I don't know. I think wouldn't that like what would be more? I feel like they wouldn't survive if the bag was checked. They would just toss that shit. You would like get a concussion and pass out and die. There's no way they'd like take the care that you need for a checked
Right.
bag. They don't give a shit. I see them when you're like you're sitting at the gate and they're like bringing the little bridge over, and then you see the dudes uh with the little vehicle and the little cart that they drive by, and then they're unloading the checked bags. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're just tossing that shit. But if you're a TSA agent and you're scanning, you're looking for knives, firearms, uh, liquids, bombs, that kind of stuff. And then you see in the x-ray just like some dude waving at you with his head by his ankles. What do you do? I mean, they say you can't. They say it's not allowed, right?
Maybe that's a loophole. Like, there's nothing that says I can't put my friend in a suitcase and get him to, fly for
Yeah, fly
one
for free.
the price of two
Yeah.
for the price of one.
And then you'd have to Ocean's 11 it with like a little oxygen tank or something in there, right? Just so you don't pass out.
Yeah.
And then once you get past the x-ray, do you just like get out of the suitcase, or are you in the overhead compartment?
You mean once you're on the plane?
Yeah, because it's not like you can just like go to a seat and be like, all right, I'll just sit here.
Right. If there's a seat open, I think you do that.
Right. If not, you're just kind of like, hey, my friend stuck me in. You got a spot I can sit? I'll just sit on the floor. Just sit in the aisle of an airplane.
Yeah.
Could do it.
It's a good idea.
I always feel like, because you see that with like old buildings where it's just like, oh, the door is kind of low, or like there are different things that you're like, oh, this was built during a time when people were probably a little smaller. And I always feel like that would be like a really good kind of foolproof way to kind of like get away with stuff. Is just like, well, the only person who could access this thing is someone who's like, 4'8". You'd either have to be like a very flexible adult or a child to get in.
Right.
And that's where we keep, all our diamonds.
So between the two skills, fitting into small places or not feeling physical pain, which one would you pick?
I would have to. I think psychologically and longevity, I would have to go fitting into smaller things, because I
Really?
think psychologically, not feeling any pain would, I think, turn me or most anyone into like a psycho.
Hmm.
That's my guess. Because if you can't feel pain, you're getting into a fight all the time. You don't care. You don't feel it.
Or you could just be a good person who has that thing.
Yeah, but
Where
it's like a drug.
occasionally someone's like, "Hey Jim, your finger's in that door," and then you're like, "Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks for telling me." You're
But
just like,
yeah, it's interesting because the way we both approach it is very different. I'm approaching it as like a drug, where it's just like once I get the sweet taste of not feeling pain, I'm just going to be chasing that. And you're just like, well, I don't know, maybe if I get my foot stuck in a conveyor belt, like, you know, it'll be okay. As if like the happenstance things that happen, you're just kind of like, well, at least I wouldn't feel that moment of pain, and I can kind of like go on. Whereas me,
right.
I'm just like, oh yeah, let's jump off this thing, or like, hit me in the
Well, you
stomach
could
with a
be a
bat.
daredevil, yeah, stuntman,
Yeah,
daredevil.
I would definitely be like an evil Knievel or something. That would be dope.
Maybe he had that.
Well, some people think, because when you look at like the list of things that he's like broken in his body,
Which is like
it's kind of
every
like,
bone, right?
oh, you'd kind of have to not be able to feel pain, or have such a high tolerance for it to be able to just continue to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime anybody's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon with a motorcycle. You kind of have to have a little screw loose.
Yeah, definitely. Because two questions, you can't do that, which I know isn't a question. And
No.
second one is why? Why do
Why?
you need to do that? Yeah.
Because God damn it, why not? But he was also like, I don't know, from what I gather, he was also someone who's just like, I'm gonna push the boundaries of what humans can do in in physics, basically,
Yeah.
along with like a motorcycle. But technology, like the technology of it, I feel like is there. It's just like the human will to do it is like what he's really testing and showcasing. Is just like,
Right.
can you believe it? But if you get a screw loose, then it's like you're not proving the human will. You're just proving that like somebody who has a penchant for wild shit will do something
Yeah.
like that.
It's crazy. But he made a job for himself,
He sure he sure did. I mean, he could have joined the circus. Instead, he was like, "I'll be my own damn circus."
Yeah. I'm going indie. I'm not selling out and joining the circus.
Well, it actually just reminded me of this because I was thinking about this the other day. It's maybe the same kind of thing that makes people want to run with the bulls in Pamplona.
Yeah.
I don't, for the life of me, cannot understand why someone would do that. I know it's like tradition, I guess.
Adrenaline, probably. Yeah, it's probably the adrenaline of it.
Yeah, I
Or
want
the
to be chased
accomplishment.
by.
Do people get away, or does everybody just get gored? There's got to be people who get away, right?
I remember seeing like, I don't know. Do they not do it anymore? Because wouldn't that be like the most viral thing that happens every year?
Well,
I
not
don't.
with
Well, not
coronavirus.
with Corona, but I remember seeing like, it was like, oh, it's that time of year, the run with the bulls, and it's just like, what, why? Kind of like the running with the bulls is the dumb version, or like the like adrenaline version, and then there's the like tomato fight. Do you remember or heard of that? I don't know if it's in
No,
Italy, but basically they like fill a street full of tomatoes.
aren't the streets in Italy already filled with tomatoes?
I mean, for the places in Italy that I've been, I have not witnessed that. But they would fill it with tomatoes, and then it would just be like this kind of like pool party where instead of water, it's tomatoes, and they're like throwing tomatoes at each other. I wonder if I'm imagining this.
I've never heard of that.
tomato festival. Yep, here we go. La
Tomato
Tomatina.
Festival.
La Tomatina. Oh, it's in Spain.
Spain.
But yeah, it's basically like a food fight, which is dope. Do that.
Yeah.
Don't not feed 700-pound bulls and then release them on the like streets.
Oh, that's what they do? They don't feed them?
Well, I'd assume.
But
You
bulls don't eat people.
no, they don't, but they're running to get food.
They're not like.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they don't want to fuck people up.
I guess so.
I think this is kind of going with like the matador and the bullfighting. Like, if you feed an animal, generally they're not going to be like aggro in that sense.
So they're just lowering the bull's blood sugar, so they're a little
Exactly.
grumpy.
Yeah, and then obviously every donkey who's doing the run with the bulls is wearing white with red on it to piss them off. And then you just see people like running for like 5 steps and then jumping on like a side of a building or a fence to get away from the bulls, as if, yeah, what were you expecting? They're going to chase you down.
Right.
And of course people die, people get really hurt, and it's just kind of like, why did we do this? Why did we ever do this?
Yeah.
Whereas
I would never.
You would never. If you
I don't like
couldn't
running.
feel pain, you would do that.
No, I don't like running.
Yes.
That's the hardest part of it.
Yeah, it's not the potentially
train.
pissing yourself from a live piece of livestock attacking you. It's the putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Should we get started?
Let's get started.